This conference will now be recorded.
So, in today's class, we are going to start it with our interface. So, what is an interface and why we need to create an interface and what is the purpose of an interface? So, that's we are going to see in today's class, and then we are going to see about your polymorphism and abstract class, and then your friend class, and if possible, I'll be going to start it with our oops ALV. Okay, so now interface. So interfaces, so these are also a special type of class, special type of class where where we will we will just define we'll just define the methods and attributes. The definition will only be done. We'll just define the methods and attributes, methods and its parameters, methods and the parameters of the methods, parameters of the methods and its attributes. So that's it. So why we need to create an interface? Let's say, for example, the method name will be the same, and I need to write a different logic. So let's say I have the same parameters and the same method. The name of the method will be the same. So in 3 to 4 different classes, 3 to 4 different classes, the name of the method will be the same, as well as the parameters which we are going to use will also be the same. So instead of creating them in each class, we will go ahead and create an interface, and we will be calling that interface in this particular classes, so that the name will be the same, the logic will be differ. So that's what. So we need what if the method name should be the same when we need to create an interface. When we need to create an interface, if I want the method name should be the same across the classes, but the implementation should be different, then we will go ahead and create an interface. Then we will go ahead and create an interface. How to create an interface? So you can create them in locally, or you can create them in globally. So the same thing. So I have an interface with method 1. So I can call that method in my class 1, and I can call I can call this interface in my class 2. In the class 1, I can have my own logic. In my class 2, I can have also my own logic. In all my classes, the method names are the same, and the implementation is different. Is different from one class to another class. That's where we can achieve a concept called as your polymorphism. So in SAP ABAP, the polymorphism can able to be achieved with the help of your interface. So the polymorphism is nothing but the method name will be the same, but the implementation will be differ from one class to another class. From one class to another class is called as your polymorphism. Is called as a polymorphism. So how to create an interface? So let me go ahead and open the system. So now I'm just going to SC24. So when we want to create an interface, the naming conventions must start with ZIF. So the standard interfaces will always start with IF. When we want to create an interface, we have to create with with the naming conventions GIF. So I'm just going to create ZIF underscore 7 a.m. ABAP. 7 a.m. ABAP. I'll just go ahead and click on create. See, when I go ahead and click on create, see here by default it is going to get an interface. When we go ahead and create with GCL, it will be just showing it as a class. So now I'm just going to take this as interface. So I'm just going to create that in my package as well as in my TR. So here you see here you don't have your source code button. That's the difference between your interface as well as your class. In a class, you will be having your source code and you have to create, sorry, so you have to implement the method. You have to implement the method for sure. Whereas over in the interface, only the definition will be gets happen, but the interface, but the implementation we can't able to do it in our interface. In the interface, we can't implement the methods. Remember that we cannot able to implement our methods. So even you can do everything inside an interface. You can go ahead and add one more interface. You can just provide the attributes, you can just provide the methods, the types, events, aliases, whatever the properties you have seen on your class, you can able to see every properties over here. But the only difference is you can't able to implement the interface. So now let me go ahead and show you that one. I'll just go to my methods. I'll just say this has get underscore sales underscore data. So level, I'll be taking this as instance method, or you can go ahead and take this as static. All the interface methods must be in public. Remember that. All the interface methods, the visibility must be public. Must be public. All the interface method, the visibility must be your public. Your public. The visibility of the methods of an interface must be a public. Why? Because you can only use the methods outside of your class when the visibility must be a public. So that's the reason here it is not showing any visibility. By default, it will take the visibility as your public only. Now I'll just go to my parameters. I'll just go ahead and say IV underscore AUA RT, and I'm going to take this as the importing, and I'm going to take this as VBAK hyphen AUA RT. AUA RT, sorry, this is exporting. I have taken it up. So importing, and then ET underscore VBAK. So I'm just going with my exporting VBAK underscore your T. So this is the table type for my VBAK structure. So I'm just going to utilize my table type directly. So you can't able to have your source code. Now I'll just go ahead and activate my interface. I just go ahead and activate my interface. Now when I go to my source code based, so this is how you have to just write that in your SE38 program. In your SE38 program, you just need to go ahead and write like this. That's it. Now, when I'm going to my class, so /o SE24, I need to call this interface in my class. So GCL calling interface, calling interface. I'll just go ahead and click on create. I'll just say calling the interface, and that's it. I'm just going to click on enter, enter, enter. So in this interface, the first thing is you need to go ahead and provide your interface. So this is my interface. Just come here and populate your interface over here. Come here and populate your interface. Now, if you go to your methods, automatically the method name will come up. Automatically the method name. If I select this parameter, see here, you can't able to change the parameters. You can't able to change. The method overriding is not possible. The method overriding, this is a method which we have override from your interface. The method overriding is not possible in SAP. overloading of your method. That means you can change the code of the method. You can change the code of your method, but overriding is not possible. So that you have to remember. Now, over here, I can just say select star from VBAK into table at the rate et underscore VBAK, where AUART is equal to at the rate IV underscore AUART. That's it. I'll just go ahead and activate this one. So I'll just going to copy this one and I'll activate all my class and the methods. So now when I come here, let me try to activate for one more time. It's got activated. To see that if any method is not yet activated, so it will just go ahead and activate. Okay, so this is what. Now in the same way, if I want to go ahead and call that in one more interface, so one more class, I'll just go ahead and click on create. I'll just say calling interface, and then I'll go to my interface. I'll just copy this interface. I'll come to my methods. Now I'll just go to my source code. Here you can able to write one more logic, whatever the logic. So write, right? So this is an interface method. This is an interface method. That's it. I'm not going to do any other thing. I'll just save this. I'll go back and I'll just activate the entire class along with our method. So simple. So see here, the interface is having the same method. The interface one is also having the same method. The parameters are also the same, but the implementation of those two methods of those two classes are different. So that is called as your polymorphism. So polymorphism can be able to achieve with the help of your interface. Achieved through interface. Polymorphism can be achieved through interface. Okay, so that means then the what is meant by polymorphism, the method name will be the same, but the implementation is going to be differ. The method name will be the same and the implementation is going to be differ. It's a concept where the same method name behave differently in different classes. That means each method of the class will have its own implementation. That's called as your polymorphism. The polymorphism can be achieved through interface. Now the next one is your inheritance. What is meant by this inheritance? So inheritance is a concept of passing the properties of one class to another class. So we are going to passing all the properties of one class to another class. The class which passes the properties is called as the parent class, or we can also call it as the superclass. The class which receives the properties is called as the child class or the subclass or the derived class. The child class or the subclass or the derived class. So just give me 1 minute. Sorry for that. So the class which receiving the property is called as the child class or the subclass or the derived class. So in the derived class, if you need to change the logic by adding an additional features. So we can go ahead and add the additional feature. That means here in this class one, so I have a class one. So this is my class one where I will be having my method one, two, where I will be having class one hyphen your method one. So where I have my ABAP logic. So now I will be passing this entire properties along with my ABAP logic also. I'll be passing this to my class 2, to my class 2. So this is my class 2. So once I pass the properties, I will be getting the method of class 1, method 1, and its ABAP logic 2, and its ABAP logic, the entire ABAP logic. Now along with this existing logic, if I need to add my own logic along with the existing logic, if I need to add my own logic, or I don't want the existing logic, or I don't want the existing logic. I don't want the existing logic, and I want the method to have the and to have I want the method to have the new logic. So then we need to redefine the method. There is a concept called as redefinition. So redefining the method. So that's what. So we can, this is called as your redefinition. In the derived class, if we need to change the logic by adding the additional features, or we can completely remove the code in the child class, and we can write our own code. We can completely remove the code which is there in the child class method, and I can write my complete code. So that we will be calling it as the redefinition. The redefinition. So in simple words, it's a keyword which is used to write the parent class method, overwriting the parent class methods in the child class method. So once you have done your redefinition, the parent class method will be showing it as super. So when you go and do the redefinition, in this you will be seeing that super hyphen your method m1. So the entire logic will be there in super hyphen m1. After this, we can write our own ABAP logic. We can write our own ABAP logic. We can write our own ABAP logic, completely our own ABAP logic. We can able to write that. So this is called as. So what is this super keyword? Super is a keyword which is used to represent the parent class or super class. So as I told you, so the properties is called as a parent class or your super class. So you can access the methods and attributes of the superclass with the help of a keyword called as your super. So super, with the help of this keyword, we can able to access your parent class methods as well as your child class methods. How to assign the properties of a parent class to the child class? How to assign it? So let's consider this is my child class. So this is my child class. I want, or else this is my parent class. I want to assign this to my parent class to my child class. So slash OSC24. So now go to SM12. Let me remove if you have any lock entries. Okay. So now let me go to SE24. So let's consider this is my superclass or this is my superclass, and now I want to pass this superclass to my child class. So this is my superclass and this is my child class. This is my child class. So in this child class, I want to call my superclass. How can you call that one? So just go ahead and click on the change, and in the attributes of your program, you will be just assigning in the attributes of your program, just click on this superclass. Click on this superclass. Now you have to provide your superclass. So what is that our superclass? So I'll just go to SE24 again. So let me copy the superclass name. So this is our superclass. So I'm just copying this one. I'm going to paste it over here. I'm going to paste it. So why this is coming up? It doesn't have any subclasses. So because we have used in this superclass, if you go here to my if you go to my change mode, in the properties you have selected the class as your final. You have selected the class as your final. So if you select the class as your final, you can't able to pass this class in the child classes. So the inheritance is not going to be work when you select this the class as your final. So if I go ahead and remove this final, and I'll activate this one. I'll activate this one. Now come here to this SE24. Now come here to this SE24. Now let me refresh this SE24 again. So I'll just go to my change mode. Sorry, not this one. Utility, and I'll go to my change mode. Now I'll go to my properties, and now I'll click on the superclass, and then I'll be passing my superclass over here. I'll be passing my superclass over here. So now you can see that superclass methods will be shown. Why it's not showing the superclass methods? Okay, so just activate this one. Now if I go to my methods, you can able to see here your superclass method. So this, it has came from your interface, and here also you cannot able to change your parameters, but if you want, you can go ahead and change your ABAP logic. So if you want to do the changes in your ABAP, so if you go to the code level, see it is directly going to this class. It's directly going to this class. You can't able to change that directly. We can't able to change that directly. If you want to change that, you need to redefine this method. We have an option called as redefinition. Once you click on this redefinition, now SAP will allow you to go ahead and add your method. It will go ahead and allow you to add your details. Whatever the details you have, it will just go ahead and allow you to add. If over here, if I need to call any attributes of your superclass, over here, if I need to call any attributes or the methods from the superclass, we need to use a keyword called as super. we need to go ahead and use a keyword called as super and super hyphen, and whatever the method or whatever the attribute you want, you can just go ahead and call it over here. And then here also you can go ahead and write your own ABAP logic, own ABAP logic. So let's say I'm just going to write down here, write this is an inheritance method. This is an inheritance method. This is an inheritance method. Now do your pretty printer. I'm just activating my code. So now over here, if you see here, this I'm not going to call. Even if you want, you can just keep the same thing, the same code which is there in your superclass, you can keep that, or you can completely remove it. So if I tell you a beautiful example, so if your dad is a businessman, so you can do the business in the same format what your father is doing, or you can upgrade that along with your father's thing. You can go ahead and change that thing, or you can completely go ahead and create your own expansion. You can completely remove all the things which you have, which the existing things, and you can completely change the entire thing, either way. So that's called as an inheritance. The properties of your father is going to be transferred to you, so you can keep the properties as is, or if you want, you will be keeping the existing as is, or and you can go ahead and add the new components, or you can completely remove that and you can go ahead and create your own one. So that is called as your inheritance. That's called as your inheritance. Now I'm just activating my ABAP code. So now go back and just activate this one for one more time. Now when I click on the source code, SAP will allow you, because you have done your redefinition. It will not go to your parent class. It will directly come to your child class method only. It will not go to your parent class. It will directly come to your child class only. Now, can we add multiple classes? So will the system allows multi inheritance? Will the system allows multi inheritance? In Java it is allowed as per my knowledge, but in SAP it will not allowed. So single level inheritance will only be possible. Single inheritance is allowed in SAP. So that means two classes you can't able to inherit, two parent classes it can't able to inherit from one class to another class, class 1 to class 2, class 2 to class 3, class 3 to class 4 is possible. So class 3 and class 2 is not possible. That multi inheritance is not possible in SAP. Only the single level inheritance is possible. That is also one of the interview question. Remember that. So interview questions: can we use multi-inheritance questions in one single class? The answer is no. Can I call multiple classes in one single class? The same way. They can twist the question. No. What is a keyword which is used to call the parent class methods and attributes in your child class? With the help of your keyword super. With the help of your keyword. What is the concept of redefinition? It's a keyword which is used to overwrite the parent class methods in the child class. It's a keyword which is used to redefine. So what is meant by overriding and what is meant by overloading, which is possible in SAP? So that's what I have provided. Overloading, the name of the method will be the same, but the parameters will be different in different classes. You can go ahead and change the parameters of your methods also inside your child class. For the child class what you have been inherited, so you can just change that parameters also. That is not possible in SAP, but as per my knowledge that is possible in Java. In Java that is possible, whereas in SAP it's not possible. So the overloading is to add the extra functionalities in the child class child class from the parent class method. So which is possible in SAP? Method overriding is possible, but not method overloading. But not method overloading. This is the method overriding is only possible with the help of your keyword redefinition. With the help of your keyword redefinition. Okay. So note, in SAP single inheritance is possible, whereas the multi inheritance is not possible. Is not at all possible. Remember that one. So which we have seen just now. Why? Because only one superclass we can able to assign. If I go to my properties, see here, you can just assign one superclass. One superclass. If you just click on your undo inheritance, it will just remove the existing inheritance and all these methods. If you want to change the inheritance, you can just go ahead and change that. Now, if you select the keyword as final, so let me go ahead and tell you this final. So when we select this checkbox, when we select this checkbox, we we can't able to use this in the child classes. So child classes, that means the inheritance is not at all possible. Inheritance is not at all possible. Not at all possible. So when we go ahead and create that as your final class, the inheritance is not going to be possible because we can't able to use that in your child class. That means the furthermost inheritance is not going to possible. That's it. No child for this classes. At that time, we will be going at selecting this as your final. Until and unless, don't go ahead and select that as your final. But here I have selected it, but in real time we will be never selecting that final. So because we don't know when we are going to use that in your child classes. If you think that we are not going to use that in your child classes, then you go ahead and select that as your final checkbox. Okay, clear with this? Any questions in interfaces, polymorphism and inheritance? Any questions, guys? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Chaitanya. Okay, I will considering it as no questions, and let's see the next concept called as your abstract classes. So what is this abstract class? Abstract class. So this is a special type of a class, special type of a class, of a class, of a class where we can have the methods, we can have the methods with implementation and without implementation, with implementation and without implementation. So you can have everything. So that means for for sure, so when we want to convert, when we want to convert a class into an abstract class, a class into an abstract class, at least one method of the class is an abstract, of the class is an abstract. Remember that one. So remember that one. So when we want to convert the class into an abstract, so at least one method of your class must be an abstract method. So then only it is going to do that. So abstract method is a method which doesn't contains any implementation. Abstract method is a method which will not have any implementation. The implementations can be only be done in your child class. The implementation can only be done in the child class. In the child class. So the abstract method can be possible, can also be achieved with the help of your inheritance. The abstract can also be done with the help of your inheritance, because we are calling this parent class in your child class, and we will be implementing this method. So as we are going to call this class in your child class, so this is called as inheritance. Inheritance. So the same thing what which we have seen just now. So that is called as your abstract. It is a class which contains the methods with implementation and without implementation, or a class which contains at least one abstract method. This method will never get implemented in the abstract class. To implement this method, we need to call this abstract class in the child class. This way we can achieve the inheritance. This way we can able to achieve the inheritance. Let's go ahead and see the concept behind your abstract. So slash and SE24. So let me go to slash and SM12, remove the lock entries first if you have any. So then I'm going to slash it SE24. SE24. Now I'm going to take this as GCL 7 AM abstract. GCL 7 AM abstract. So I'll just go ahead and click on create. So I'm going to take this as abstract class, and now I'll just remove this final class, because if you select this final class, you can't able to inherit this in your child classes. So for abstract class, for sure we should not select our checkbox final. We should never ever select the checkbox final, and just click on the save button. And just click on the save button. I'll be going to assign my package as well as my TR. So here I'll be going to do this. So get underscore PO data. I'll be going to check this as instance and public. So all your abstract methods in the abstract class must be your public. All your abstract or either must be your public or your protected. Protected is also possible. So let me see that. So how can you change this to your abstract? Now go to your parameters. I'll be just going to take this as IV underscore. Let me go to slash OSE11 EKKO. I'll just click on display. So BSTYP, or else I'll be taking this as BUKRS, type importing, and BUKRS underscore your BUKRS, the company code. So now and then ET underscore EKKO exporting, EKKO underscore your T. So we don't have this one. I'll just select with TT. So EKKO also we don't have anything. Let me go ahead to my various list. So I'll just remove everything. I'll be just selecting my table types. So here I'll be going with the EKKO underscore TTY. EKKO underscore your TTY. So now if I want to change this to my abstract, so select this method and click on this detailed. So put a cursor on this and click on this detailed view. So once you select this as your detailed view, so now you need to select this as your abstract. So now the implementation will be gets deleted. If you have an implementation, it will be just gets deleted. And now even you can just select that as your protected. You can just select that as your protected. Protected is also possible. Now if I double click on this one, see here. So method PO is an abstract. You can't able to see that directly, but the class will be a abstract class right now. So if you go to your source code based editor, you can able to see that the method, so the public, and you have selected this as your abstract. You have selected this as your abstract, and your method, you'll be providing this as your abstract at the last keyword. The last keyword, you will be selecting that as your abstract. So this is the one which you have to do it for your abstract. So clear with this? So where you have provided that in your protected session. Now I want to call this in my child classes. I want to call this in my child class. Copy this and slash o SE24. So what I will do, I will go to my interface and I will go ahead and inherit this one properties, and I'll go to my super class and I'll just providing my abstract. I'll just providing my abstract. So let me activate this one. Okay. So now if I go to my methods, you can able to see here the PO data, which is a protected method. So now if I click on the source code, you can't able to do it. In order to do this one, you need to click on your redefinition. And now you can go ahead and write your method. I'll just say select. So now select star from EKKO into table at the rate ET underscore EKKO, where BUKRS is equal to at the rate IV underscore BUKRS. That's it. Now I'm just going to activate this one. I'll go back and I'll try to activate one more time. Now, so this we have used it in one more class. Now, if I go to my utility class and when I click on the change method, you can able to see here your get PO data, which is a protected. Automatically it has came up. Now, if I double click on this, it will go to that calling interface. But from where it has came up? From your abstract. So from your abstract, you have created to your inherited to your interface, and from this you have inherited to this utility class. From this you have implemented to your utility class here also. If I just click on redefine, so you can able to see the super, you can able to see why it's not coming up. It has to come up, right? Okay, it has to come up. I'm not sure why it's not coming up. Let me activate this one. So it has to come up over here, but there is some issue. So when I click on this redefine, it has to come up. So if you want to undo your redefinition, you just click on this undo. So it will just go back to your undo your redefine. Whatever you have done, it will just go back. So that's called as your abstract. That's called as your abstract class. Okay. So now let's see the next concept. So how to redefine this? I just provide my implementation. Whatever the implementation I have, I just provide this. We have to tell you about what is meant by a final class, a class which cannot be used, which cannot used in the inheritance into the other classes, which we can't able to inherit into the other classes, is called as your final class. Now, next concept we are going to see is your friend class. So after that, we will be starting with our oops ALB, and then we are going to see at the later point of time, we are going to see about your events, the singleton class, the persistence class, the white casting, and the narrow casting. The white casting and your narrow casting, this we are going to see that at a later point of time. Right now, the last concept we are going to see is called as your friend class. Your friend class, by default you can't able to access the private attributes of your parent class. By default you can't able to access the private attributes. If I want to access the private attributes of a parent class and the child class, you need to provide this child class as a friend class. You need to provide the parent class as a friend class, then only you can able to access your your private variables. The child class can only access your public and the protected variables. Friend is a concept which is used to access the private variables or the private methods of a superclass. So to access the private variable of a superclass, the superclass has treated the child as a friend in the superclass. So now let me go here in this abstract. I'll be going to add an attribute gv underscore variable. The level is instance. I'll go here as an instance, and the visibility I'm going to take this as private, and then I'm going to take this as car 10. Okay, private, I'm going to define this. Now I'm going to activate this one. Now where we have used this abstract, so let me just do a various list. So in this GCL calling interface, you have used this, and GCL 7am utility, you have used this GCM 7am utility. Now I'll just copy this utility program. I'll go back in the friend. I'll be just providing that utility as my friend class. Now I'll just activate this one. I'll just activate. Now if I go to my utility program, utility class, I'll just go ahead and click on change mode. So in the attributes, see here you can't able to see the attributes. In the attributes, see you can't able to see the attributes of your private attributes. You can't able to see that because this we have used in our inheritance. You can't able to see that. If I want to use that, you go to your methods. What happened? Okay. Okay, so I have provided this as my utility. Let me go to my change mode. Even you can't able to see your private attributes. If I go to my method in this PO data, let me go ahead and show you that one. So if I go ahead and say this as super super high fun, so if you select this, you can able to get your private attributes. Yeah, private attributes, whatever the attribute you have. So what is the attribute you have taken? So gv underscore variable, gv underscore variable is equal to some text. So now let me do my pretty printer and let me activate the code. See here, this is my private attribute gv underscore variable is my private attribute. Let me go ahead and see if you have any variable over here, gv underscore variable. So here also we have it. So now what I will do, I will go ahead and change this as variable 24. I'll just activate this one, my private abstract. Now I'll just go ahead and activate this one. I'll come here. Let me see 24. So if I go to my change mode, so in this properties, you have used your interface. In the interface, you have used your private variable abstract. So if I go to my attributes, see here it is not showing your attributes. Okay. Now in the same way, if I want to go to my methods, I'll go to my get PO data, and now I'll just say gv underscore variable underscore 24 is equal to the test. The test, I'll just click on the check one. Sorry. Check this. Why it's not working up? Okay. Sorry. Sorry. To do this, I'll just go ahead and create this an object reference data gvo underscore obj is equal to new. I'll just going to say this as abstract, and then I'll just provide this one. I'm going to call this class, and now gvo underscore obj hyphen, you can just call your gv underscore var underscore your 24. Var underscore your 24 is equal to, I'm just going to pass this as your test. So now do your pretty printer, and now let me check this one. It will not show you any errors. It will not show you any errors. You can't generate the instances of your abstract. Okay. So this is an abstract, you can't able to generate. So in the abstract, you can't able to use the private attributes then. Even I'm seeing for the very first time. So let me go ahead and use the attributes over here. So gv underscore variable underscore 25 instance private. I'm going to take this as cat 10. Now in the friend class, I'll be going to add that as my friend class, and I'll just activate this one. I'll just activate this one. So now this is my private attribute. If you go here and you can see that as my private attribute. Now let me come to my SE24. I'll go to my utility where I have used this one. If I click on change, you can't able to see in the attributes, you can't able to see your gv underscore variable 25. Now if I go to my methods and if I go to my get PO data, so I'll go ahead and create an object reference. So data gvo underscore obj is equal to new. So what is the class we have used? Not this one. Calling interface. So this is the one I have used, and now what is the next one we have used? So I want to call my private attribute. Now you can able to call your private attribute, and I'm going to pass the data over here. I can able to pass the data over here. So in the same way, you can also able to call your private methods also. That's the important of your private. So that's the important of your friend. Friend is having only the access to go ahead and call the private attributes or private methods. So to provide that as your friend, the, the, the child class must be assigned as a friend class in your parent. Maybe if you're not going to use the inheritance also, it's fine. The class 2 must be assigned. So wherever you're going to access the private attributes of class, in that class 1 you have to provide this as a child class, as a friend class, as a friend class. Then only you can able to access that your private attributes. Then only you can able to access your private attributes. That's called as your that's called as your private. To access the private attributes, the keyword, okay, this is not the one, this is not the one. So here we, in the child class or in the class 2, the child class, we need to create a object reference to the parent class, and we can call from here, from here we can call the the attributes private attributes and private methods of that class, of that class. So this is called as your friend class. Now the next remaining things. So the singleton class, the persistent class, the wide casting, the narrow casting, and the events we will be seeing after your oops ALV concept is completed. So the most important classes that we are going to use is, so we do have so many classes that are available in SAP. So with the help of those classes we can able to achieve whatever the things which we can able to achieve in the ALV with the help of your reuse ALV. So the same thing we can also be achieved with the help of your classes. With the help of your classes, SAP has provided some of the standard classes: CL underscore GUI underscore custom container, CL underscore GUI underscore grid, CL underscore GUI underscore splitter container, CL underscore GUI underscore front end services, CL underscore GUI underscore front end underscore services. So in order to upload or download the file, upload the file or download the file or F4 for file. F4 for file, everything. There are so many methods in this, you have to use that one. From here onwards you should not use your function modules, you have to find out your right class and you have to do that. So for that reason only we will be going to create our utility class. Instead of finding so many things, or instead of writing so many object references and everything, we will be going ahead and creating a utility class. In that we will be going to keeping all those methods which we are commonly used, we will be keeping over there. And from that utility class we will be calling our required method. If you think that later on, if you think that this method is going to be utilized by multiple people, go ahead and add that in your utility class and move those changes to your production, move those changes in your production in real time. Remember that in real time, when we are working on the utility class, when we are working, that means either creating, when we are creating slash changing, creating slash changing the utility class, we will always create a separate tr. We'll always create that as a separate tr, because we don't know how many people are going to use that in our real time. So, and we will be keeping this as, and we will keep this TR as a prerequisite or pre-required TR, prerequisite or required TR. That means, so first of all, this TR has to be moved to your production, then only our changes, because we are going to use the utility program changes. So the utility program has to go first, and then our changes has to go first. Always remember that the utility program, when you're creating slash changing, it has to be captured in a separate TR. It has to be captured in a separate TR. So this is what one more thing which you need to remember. So in tomorrow's class onwards, we are going to start at how to work with our OOPS ALV with the help of your classes. How can we create an ALV reports? What are the different things we can able to achieve the ALV reports with the help of these classes? So what are the advantages when we go ahead with these classes and everything? That we are going to start it from your tomorrow's session, as that's a new concept. So I'm holding up the session for today, and as I know tomorrow is a Saturday, but you have your class at the same timings. Okay, that's it. That's the end of today's session. Before I signing off for today's session, any other questions? Okay, I'll be considering it as no questions, and we'll meet you tomorrow at the same time, and we'll continue with our session. Thank you. Thank you all.